Welcome, Hoosier Nation, to the first Bloomington edition of the Hoosier Life through the Assembly Call. Josh and I are moved in. Classes are almost over through the first week. Josh, how are they going so far? It's good to see you. We haven't run into each other yet in B-Town, but I know we've both been busy moving in and whatnot. So how's your first week going? How's it feel to be back?
It's been good so far. Class is underway in beautiful Franklin Hall. We'll get into that in a minute, but it's good to be back in Bloomington, except for this disgusting humidity that has come upon Bloomington after that tornado warning yesterday. It's been quite a week of weather here, but we're inside ready to go.
It has been quite a week, and I was actually going to say, it's not summer anymore because school has started, but stepping outside today felt like the middle of July. I mean, coming back from class, Tuesday and Thursday is kind of my marathon day around campus. I got class early till late. Coming back from class, I was almost limping through the door. It was so hot. That Bloomington heat, it gets to you, and it's very, very relevant in the very beginning of the school year and during welcome week. So it's alive and well here. Maybe a little too alive. The heat is almost too much, but that's Bloomington, and you got to accept it whether you like it or not. Josh, you talked about Franklin Hall, and actually, first off, let me kind of give everybody a briefing of what we're going to be doing here now that it's no longer summer, now that we're back. So over the summer, we were trying to just kind of establish a routine, and we had a lot of fun with that. Don't get me wrong. It was a blast. I love doing it. But now that we're back, the main goal of this show was to kind of take you guys back to Bloomington and get some students involved and just spread the audience and to kind of take everybody back to Bloomington. So we're going to do a lot of talking about campus. If there's something big that happened, construction, we're going to keep you guys updated with what's going on at Assembly Hall and Franklin and whatnot. Everything you need to know or want to know about IU or Bloomington, we are going to be your go-to because we're here. We're students. We're seeing everything we can possibly see. So be sure to tweet at us anything. We'd love to hear from you guys. We'd love to answer any questions. And odds are, if you have a question about IU, we'll be able to answer it. So I just wanted to get that off my chest, kind of explain how the new routine's going to go. The structure of the show is going to stay the same. The content's just going to change. That's all. So it'll be the same Josh and Michael, just different content, same great product. So now that that's out there, now we can begin. Josh, you said Franklin Hall. First of all, it's absolutely stunning what they've done with it. You kind of walk in up the stairs right by the sample gates, and you just kind of open up into this big lounge area with these super nice comfy chairs, tables, desks, and I don't even know how big it is, but this giant projector screen that when I walked in with my mom on move-in day, split screened the Olympics. There were like 8 different events going on at once. And obviously that's not going to be the case throughout the year because the Olympics are now over and what an Olympics it was. But I mean, just everything you could possibly want is there. The classrooms are state of the art. I've got a class that basically overlooks Kirkwood. It's incredible. I walked in there and I'd only seen pictures, Josh. I was blown away with how nice it was. People are stoked about it. The software, the facility, the computers, everything about it sets everyone in the media school up to succeed. So what my experience there has been very little. I only have one class there that meets twice a week. I know you have a little bit more. So what has your experience been like so far?
Oh, it has been absolutely fantastic. I went in there for the first time with my parents, just like you, and I mean, I was blown away. That screen was incredible, and it's been great so far. I have 3 classes in there. I got a tour of it from Galen Clavio, who came on here, I think back in March, talked some bracketology. He's a professor here at IU for the media school. He's been great so far. He was giving me a tour along with a couple others, and the new TV studio is state of the art. It is absolutely incredible. They have podcast studios, the IDS. I'm writing for the IDS this year. That's all in there. Beautiful new newsroom in there. And then every Saturday morning, this is for anybody, every Saturday morning, 10 a.m., Premier League on in the big Commons area on the big screen. We had 5 games on the other day. We're going to have 6 on this upcoming Saturday. It's going to be fantastic. But Franklin Hall's really, really exceeded my expectations. It's been great. Got 3 classes in there, and it's truly incredible building.
It really is. And I never actually set foot inside of Franklin Hall until this year. So I don't know what it looked like before it looked like this beautiful new facility. But I can tell you right now that whatever it looked like, I'm confident in saying that this is just 10 times more charming, beautiful, new. It's everything you could ask for in a media school building, and I can't wait to dive in and take advantage of, like you said, the TV studio, which is unbelievably cool. Hopefully we can get inside there, get some pictures out for you guys and whatnot, because it's worth seeing. It's absolutely worth seeing. Eventually throughout the year, we're going to try and do some stuff there. So we can't wait to at least give it a shot and see what comes of that. But it's absolutely incredible what they've done with Franklin Hall, and everyone involved in the media school. You can feel the excitement just from anywhere you are on campus. Can you not?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, you were talking about the location. It cannot be more perfect. You walk right off Kirkwood through the sample gates, and boom, you're right there. Couldn't be better location. But I mean, I've been talking to people around campus and who are in the media school, who aren't in the media school, and they're like, "Where is that big screen? I got to go see it," because I've been Snapchatting because it's just so cool. I was in there the other day just watching the Olympics for a little bit. I was watching the Little League World Series. I mean, anything's on. It's on all day, and it's might be a little hard to get work done in there as the year goes on. But for right now, we're living it up pretty nice right now.
It'll especially be hard to get work done in March when the Hoosiers are making their run for that sixth banner, and they got to play at 11:50 or 1:20 on a Tuesday or Thursday, and we got to catch up on what they're doing there. But hopefully, we'll have a lot of classes there to begin with, so we can just kind of drop by in between, get a drink of water, see how they're doing. But all kidding aside, the facility itself is incredible. The screen is a must see if you're still in the Bloomington area. If you're a student and you haven't seen it, go check it out. If you're in or around Bloomington, come make the visit. It's worth it. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. So outside of Franklin Hall, Josh, which I'm sure is our kind of biggest source of excitement so far, have you done any big things since you've been back in Bloomington that you missed over the summer, or that you were kind of itching to get back to since we last were here?
Nothing necessarily specific. I mean, I was just excited to get back here. I mean, it felt like a long time, all the way from May until August, and then moving into my apartment. I live right pretty close to the square downtown, and I've just been excited to go eat at the restaurants I've missed for these couple months, see some friends, and just kind of be back in Bloomington. It's great. It's good to be back. I mean, and then you got school, obviously. That's why you're here. But no, it's been great so far. It's just good to be back.
Yeah, and we definitely missed it a lot, and we were gone for what seemed like an entire year, although it was only just over 3 months. But you nailed it with the food. I know we've talked about it before, and for good reason. The first thing I did when I came here, dropped my stuff off in the place. My buddies and I are living over at Stadium Crossing, right by the stadium. We got a beautiful Veal Memorial Stadium and Assembly Hall to wake up to every morning. But we dropped my stuff off, and my mom and I went straight to Village Deli. The next night I was at Buffalo Louie's, so already I hit my 1-2. I think they were 1 and 2 in my power rankings months ago, but that's neither here nor there. But the food, being back here, experiencing Kirkwood downtown is, I mean, it's unlike anything else. Especially, it's unique, and it's unique to Indiana, and it's just got a great feel to it. And again, I'm just happy to be back.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, what first thing I did when I got here was went straight to Trojan Horse. If you haven't been there, it's kind of under the radar a little bit. It's right on, I believe, Walnut and Kirkwood, and it's fantastic. If you ever want a good gyro, it's great, fantastic. Go check it out. It's on B-Town menus as well. But we're not going to get too sidetracked. But there's so much to do in Bloomington. I haven't even done half the things I want to do quite yet, and I've been here for a couple weeks. But I'm sure by the time we get through this year, it'll all be accomplished.
Yeah, I haven't even gotten to a quarter, a fifth, an eighth, a 1/20th of the things I want to do. Before we graduate. And the Trojan Horse, just one quick little tidbit on that. The only thing I've heard, or the only things rather I've heard of the Trojan Horse, are great, great things. And a couple people I've talked to who have since graduated from IU, they said they always walked by it, never thought twice. Senior year, they went once, never thought twice about where to go get food. Trojan Horse, I haven't been. That's definitely on my to-do list. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I completely forgot what I was going to say. Okay, I did. I remembered it now. Yes, yeah, getting back to it. This was actually a main point of mine. I know earlier in the summer we talked about our favorite Bloomington spots. And we didn't name a whole lot of Bloomington spots. Ours were more kind of IU centered, but we were freshmen. I certainly didn't have a vehicle here, Josh. I don't think you did either. So our access was kind of limited this year. I've got my car here. So I'm definitely on my to-do list, and Josh and I can knock this out together and just kind of dissect it for you guys if you have any questions for us or places that we should go, because we're still new to the area. We just finished, or we're just starting rather, our sophomore year. So I'm looking forward to exploring Bloomington, not just IU and on campus, but branching out into the forest and the lakes and the quarries and everything. I've only heard things. I've never seen them. I can't believe I'm saying that. I'm going into year two. I've never seen any of those. I feel like those are staples to Bloomington. That's all I hear. It's not all I hear about, but it's a lot of what I hear about. So I would say the number one thing I'm excited for, and Josh, you can, if you have anything specific that you've come up with, you can hit us with it after this. But that's probably the number one thing I'm excited for, is just exploring everything that Bloomington has to offer. And it just kind of, it shows how much it has to offer by saying that we've been here for a whole year and we haven't even really scratched the surface of seeing it all.
Absolutely. I mean, I just watched Breaking Away again before I got here on the plane ride over, and they always go to that same quarry, and I have never been to a quarry before, and I really got to go check one out. I haven't been to Lake Monroe. I haven't done a lot of those things, and this is the time of year to do it because it's still boiling hot outside, and it's this weather. So I got to go check out a quarry. I've never been to a quarry. They don't really have those out on the West Coast. They just have lakes and they have the beach, so that's about it. But I got to go check out one of those quarries and maybe hit up Lake Monroe as well. But there's so much to do around here. I'm just excited to get out and go explore a little bit.
And we've got Labor Day off this year, so maybe a little weekend trip to Lake Monroe is in the future for some of us over here at IU. We'll see, and maybe a little trip to the quarry too with those 3 days off. But we'll fight that battle when we get there. So we'll move on a little bit. It's to close it out. It's great to be back in Bloomington. If you guys ever want us to go check on something for you, to see something for you, to send you a picture, tweet out a picture, anything. If you have any questions for us on construction updates, anything, we're a tweet away. Please tweet at us. We absolutely love interacting with you guys. He's at Josh Eastern. I, for the second week in a row, forgot to put my Twitter handle down there, so I'm going to work on that, get it up there by the end of the show. But please tweet at us, and we'll get stuff out there. So we'll transition now to something also IU related, not just Bloomington, just on the horizon, and that is Indiana football, which I would say throughout the Big Ten, people are now taking seriously. And I, to be honest with you, I didn't know a whole lot about this team going into last year. I knew Nate Sudfeld, I knew Jordan Howard, and I knew they could score a lot of points, but their defense couldn't really stop a nosebleed, and that's about all I had for you. And after watching just a couple games, I could really figure out what this team was about and get behind it because they're exciting to watch. And we'll get into the X's and O's just a tiny bit after this, but Josh, let me ask you this to start off. How excited this year would you say the student body is and IU is surrounding the football team compared to 1 year ago today?
I feel like there's a little bit more respect about them this year. I mean, last year they weren't coming off a bowl game, but this year they're coming off a bowl game for the first time in quite some time. They know that they can do it, but now they're just kind of I feel like there's just a little aura around them of they're just not sure, can they really do it again? Because they got a new quarterback. They lost Nate Sudfeld, obviously. They lost Darius Latham on the defensive line, so they're going to have some pieces to replace. And I do think the early non-conference schedule is favorable for Indiana. They worked well with it last year. Florida International was on the road, so you got to put an asterisk next to that one. But then you got Ball State at home. It's an in-state rival. You lost to them last time in Bloomington. And then you got Wake Forest. And then you hit the Big Ten running with Michigan State and Ohio State the first 2 weeks. So it's going to be interesting to see how they react. But I do think the students have some sort of belief around this team that they can get it done. But I think there's just a little bit of hesitation with them right now.
Yeah, I agree there. And last year, if you went to the first game, you can relate. If not, then obviously you can't. But they did the freshman run on where all the freshmen kind of gather on the practice field and lead the team out into Memorial Stadium on the field, run across the field, and then up into the student section. And the amount of freshmen, and I did it, and the amount of freshmen that I did it with and were there doing it was startlingly small. And the amount of students at the game also was startlingly small. And when they were down at halftime to Southern Illinois, mind you, half the students were gone. I mean, people were like, oh, God, like I just can't wait for basketball season. And then they snuck out a win, and me and the three other students that were still there were excited. It was great fun. But But I mean, people just didn't even really take this team as a Big Ten football team. And I think after what they did to Ohio State last year, and first of all, for those of you that didn't watch it on TV or weren't in the area, they needed to open up a second section for students for Ohio State because the first one filled up before kickoff. So after that game where every single student stayed till the end, and after Michigan and after Iowa and after pushing all these teams just to the brink to the last second, I think that students now are actually excited about this, and people are already talking about when Michigan State's coming to town. I mean, I feel like we're almost not quite at not a football school, but a team that has a very respectable football program, because people are already asking me about it. Like, how are we going to be this year? You know, are you excited? Are we going to be good? Blah, blah, blah. I didn't hear any of those questions last year to anybody. So I think people now think they have some expectations, and that leads to excitement. And hopefully people show up against Ball State. Hopefully people show up against Wake Forest. You know, people will show up against Michigan State. But to answer the question, people are definitely excited, and for good reason. And we're gonna get into that kind of right now. So, Josh, unless you have anything else to add on that question, we can kind of dive into how we think they'll fare this year very briefly.
I mean, we're just 1 week away, 1 week from basically right now, 1 week and 13 minutes away from right now. Indiana will be kicking off the football season. So very exciting right now.
And it's going to be good, and it's going to be a good test because it is on the road, and we're not traveling to a USC. We're not traveling to Michigan. We're not traveling to Florida or Auburn. You know, we're going to Florida International. Okay, we're going to Florida International. We're not playing a powerhouse by any means. But with that being said, they gave Indiana a run last year, so they definitely need to be respected, especially with the way college football has gone the last couple of years, with North Dakota State pulling a few upsets, and you know the unthinkable happens every week. So you have to respect your opponent at all times. But this is a very winnable game, and it's going to be a very crucial game. Probably one of the top three, I would say, most important games in their season, because if they are just a complete mess all over the place, which they, no offense, they kind of were on defense last year through all 13 games, including the bowl game. So the way I'm looking at this season is they really can't get much worse on defense. They were bottom 5 statistically in the country last year defensively. They really can't get worse. Like, they truthfully cannot get worse. I know we say that about our teams every now and then, but this time we mean it. They could not get worse. Their offense, however, is going to be hard to improve. They're missing Nate Sudfeld. They're missing Jordan Howard, but you can look at it this way. Jordan Howard was injured all the time. Nate Sudfeld made a lot of mental errors. And this new quarterback they've got, Richard Lego, I don't quite know how to pronounce his name, but it's Lagow. I think it's Lego. So Josh is going to let me know. Yeah, Lego. Okay, it is Lego. He's bigger than Cam Newton. I think he's got an inch on him, and they weigh the same. I think he's 6'7", 250. He is a monster. He has got one of the biggest arms I've ever seen in my life. And mind you, Devine Redding, the running back, is no scrub. He was the backup last year and still rushed for 1,000 yards. So let that speak for itself. Alongside them, Dan Feeney just made the first team All-American today, according to the USA Today. The receivers are all back. The offensive line is going to be great. The offense will score points. The only question is the defense. So, Josh, I'm gonna fire back to you because I feel like I've been talking for too long. What do you think this season hinges on, and what do you think plays the biggest factor in this team's success this upcoming year? Obviously, it's going to be the defense, but what do you think specifically, if there's a player or a game or anything in mind?
I think it comes down to the quarterback position. I mean, you have a little bit of uncertainty there. I mean, Richard Lego he's obviously was one of the top junior college transfers, and Indiana got him. But you don't know if Sudfeld got hurt last year, and you need to have Danny Cameron come into a game, and that's obviously not going to be good for the Hoosiers if that has to happen this year. So if you can get consistent quarterback play, it doesn't need to be at the level Nate Sudfeld was for throwing for 500 yards, or even for Luke Falk over at Washington State, who's throwing for 7 touchdowns a game. It doesn't need to be that. It just needs to be solid enough. It needs to be consistent enough that you can balance your offense well enough to be able to pass the ball down the field and be able to run the ball effectively, because you're going to be able to run the ball effectively because you have a good running back, and you can run behind Dan Feeney, the All-American. So it really hinges on whether Richard Lego can become a good enough leader on this team, because you were saying it, that the defense can't get much worse, so you'd hope they at least get a little bit better, and that'll help things at least a little bit. The offense probably won't be up to par as it was last year, which is fine, because you lost some pretty key playmakers. But you're going to need a quarterback that can steady things and that can be the steady hand, because that was Nate Sudfeld. Even though he wavered a little bit, he was still that steady hand. You knew he was going to be there week in and week out, except for the one game or two games he was injured. But you need a steady hand at quarterback, especially in a conference where you're going to be playing Michigan, you're going to be playing Michigan State and Ohio State, and you're going to have to go on the road for a tricky morning game at Northwestern. I mean, those aren't easy games by any means. You need a steady hand at quarterback, and if Richard Lego can provide that, Indiana should be on their way to a bowl game. It just depends on whether that can happen.
Yeah, and that's all spot on. And here's my brief analysis. I think if this team plays to its potential by any means, they will make a bowl game. I think the offense is going to struggle a little more than they did last year, which doesn't say much because they really didn't struggle at any point last year. But whatever gap that they leave between last year and this year, the defense will make up for. They've got a new defensive coordinator, new defensive scheme. Basically, everyone is coming back. Chase Dutra, their captain safety, hopefully, fingers crossed, crossing everything I have right now, will be healthy. Rashard Fant is a great cornerback. Yes, you said Darius Latham is gone, but here's the thing. Their best defensive performance last year against Ohio State, Darius Latham was suspended. He didn't even play. So it's not like that they're going to be lost without this defensive lineman. They still have T. Gray Scales, Marcus Oliver, Rashard Fant, all these guys that can perform and make plays defensively. So I think realistically we should expect a 6-6 season, be disappointed if there's anything less, and celebrate if it's anything more. And they lost a lot of games last year that, frankly, they could have won very easily. That's no secret. So hopefully they can sneak one out this year. They definitely have a tough schedule again. But they also have games that they didn't win last year that they should, like Rutgers, and they should beat Maryland. They should beat Purdue. So we'll see. Those are 3 must-wins right there. You win all your non-conference games, that's 6 wins already, then steal another one. I think just to summarize, this team should make a bowl game, and I would be disappointed in them if they didn't.
Oh, absolutely. Kevin Wilson has come in, and since he made the bowl game last year, you need to follow that up. And if you want to keep that upward trajectory of getting those recruits in here, getting better recruits in here, and kind of moving the program along to where you have some respectability, you need to make a bowl this year. You need to get to 6 wins. I mean, getting to 7 wins would be fantastic. And you just said Maryland, Rutgers, Purdue, and the 3 non-conference. That's 6 wins right there. And then maybe you steal a home game against Penn State, or you steal a road game against Northwestern, or and even if you just give Michigan a run for their money at the Big House, or even Michigan State at home, that just builds positive energy moving forward in the season. So if they can get on a roll, I think you need to start off 3-0. I think that's a must. I think that's a big key to the season. If you start off 3-0, then you build that momentum going right into Michigan State and Ohio State. So that's big, because that could be 2 losses right there. So just building momentum in this season is going to be big, and just moving on to the next week and not trying to get too far behind early in games is also going to be big, because I don't know how well that defense is going to hold up, or how efficient that offense is going to be, because it's not going to be like it was last year.
Absolutely. And my one piece of advice before we wrap this up and move on, to the students and the people who live in or near Bloomington, even if you're in Indy, even if you're in Carmel, I don't care where you are, if you're near Bloomington and you can go to the games, do it, because there will be a lot of excitement. They will be a good football team, and there's one guy who I don't know if no one really in the Indiana media is talking about him that much, so I don't know if Kevin Wilson said to keep this on the DL, but there is a guy on the football team that has a special package in the offense that is going to be so much fun to watch. I can't even begin to tell you. So stay tuned for that, and then hopefully we can talk about it after week 1. We'll see, but I don't know if people are not supposed to be talking about it. So I'm just going to leave it there. And it's a nice teaser to get you to tune in week 1 and travel to Memorial Stadium. But, that'll do it for the football portion of our show. Let's move on to basketball briefly. The schedule, the Big Ten schedule, conference play came out this afternoon, Josh. I know we've both been busy with class because we're back in Bloomington. It feels great. But we've definitely had a chance to look at it and draw a couple conclusions. And at first glance, it's not pretty. It's not the most manageable schedule we've ever seen, but we've seen worse. So Josh, what's your main takeaway for the Big Ten portion of IU's schedule?
It's kind of just the home and road splits that you get. I mean, it's fine that you're playing at Michigan and then you get Michigan here and you're playing Purdue there and Purdue here, but how they kind of split it up within the season is interesting. You start off with 3 straight home games, all while the students are on winter break. So immediately, most of that home court advantage goes away because the students are such an integral part of home games there. They create the atmosphere. I'm not saying the other fans don't, but they just bring that extra little bit of energy for the team on the court. And they end the season with 4 of 5 games on the road. They go at Minnesota, at Iowa, come back for Northwestern, and then get Purdue and Ohio State on the road before you hit the Big Ten tournament. So it just how the home games and the away games got kind of shuffled up in the schedule is a little bit unfortunate if you're a student, but in the long run, it shouldn't be that bad of a thing, I would say. But it's just a little unfortunate for the students that 33% of the Big Ten home games are on winter break.
It is a little unfortunate. I was kind of upset because I saw we played Wisconsin at home again this year, and I was excited to see that because of how chippy this rivalry, if you will, has gotten the past 10 years. So I was definitely looking forward to be a part of that, but unfortunately, they're playing that on January 3rd. We definitely won't be back. So that is unfortunate, but thankfully the other 2 games are Nebraska, Illinois, so very, very winnable to say the least. They pasted both teams in Assembly Hall last year. My takeaway is they've got to get better quicker than last year. So last year we saw that loss, I believe, in late January to Penn State on the road, and then through February, Indiana started to hit their stride. They hit their stride in mid to late February. This year, if they want to repeat that success, they have to be mid-stride come February 1st. They host Penn State. It's Penn State, so they're not going to be on upset alert unless something goes terribly wrong that we can't see right now. But you have to take them seriously because they beat you last year, beat them on your home floor, and then 4 days later, you travel to Wisconsin. We all know what happened last year, so I won't talk about it. 4 days after that, you host Purdue. 3 days after that, you host Michigan. Then you go on the road to Minnesota, which was not a great team, but gave IU a hell of a run for their money, and that's a tough environment to play when it's loud. Then they play at Iowa, and I'm rambling now, but the final month of their schedule is very difficult. They host Northwestern on either the 25th or the 26th, and that matters because if they play on the 26th, 2 days later on the 28th of February, they travel to Purdue. I'm assuming that's the Boilers' senior night, so that's going to be epic regardless of if that's senior night or not. But if it is, it's going to be even crazier. So they have to be mid-stride come February 1st, and they have to put it on Penn State, and they've got to be ready for everyone else because everyone else they play has either given them a run for their money or beaten them in the past 2 years. So, I mean, there's nothing else really to say. They have to be playing their best basketball come February. They can't wait till February to play. They have to be playing their best basketball come February.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that. I mean, that's definitely the tougher part of the schedule. I mean, you don't have I don't want to say a break, but a break of a game against Rutgers in the middle of February when you're playing Purdue, Michigan, and at Minnesota and at Iowa, like you do when you're coming back off a game at Maryland. Then you come home for Rutgers, then you go to Penn State and get Michigan State. That's a little bit of a down schedule there, which is kind of nice because if there's an injury there, you can get somebody healthy because injuries will happen throughout the season. That's just sports. But there's no buffer game in that month of February. I mean, you're going to have to battle week in and week out, and those games aren't separated by a whole lot of days. I mean, you have at Minnesota and at Iowa. That's 6 days in between, but that's the biggest gap in the schedule, basically. So that end of the season is going to be interesting to see how it plays out for sure.
And if there is a buffer game, it's that Penn State game on February 1st. So if you want to even call that a buffer game, then you're just cutting the I guess hell streak of games off by 1 because they still have to play 8 in a row, 9 in a row that are going to be very difficult. So I mean they won't go undefeated through those 9 games unless a miracle happens. But I mean that's just a very tough stretch of 9 games. So this is still brand new. We're still digesting it, and there's going to be a lot of IU basketball talk on this show, so don't you worry, and you'll catch it on the assembly call too. So there's going to be no shortage of IU basketball talk. Just stay tuned for that. So let's move on to our what to watch for, and then preview, and then get into our top 5, and then wrap our first Bloomington episode up. So, Josh, I'll start off so I can throw you a little plug. What to watch for around Bloomington. So the field hockey team is back in action versus Louisville on Friday, and then women's soccer has a big game on September 2nd against LSU. They also have Northern Colorado at home this Sunday, and I believe the volleyball team is hosting, I believe, what's called the Indiana Invitational, something like that. Let me double check. Yeah, the Indiana Invitational this weekend. My email from the Crimson Guard is telling me that. Come see the IU volleyball team's first home match this Friday night at 7 against Northern Kentucky. They then play Saturday, Sunday. It's going to be great fun. You may see us there, so if you're in the area, drop by, come say what's up. And Josh has got a little announcement he's covering for the soccer team this year. So Josh, let's see what they got.
Yeah, this is a big weekend for the soccer team. They head up to South Bend. They get their regular season going. They got a game against New Mexico on Friday night, and then a game on Sunday afternoon against UC Irvine, the Anteaters. So that is Sunday, and then next week is really when it kicks into gear. Because it's the Indiana Classic, the IU Credit Union Adidas Classic over at Bill Armstrong Stadium. You got Cal coming in here. That's a pretty good Pac-12 team. And then on Sunday the 4th, big-time matchup with number 1 Stanford in Bloomington. It's going to be fantastic. But on the 2nd also, the game that comes before Indiana, California is Notre Dame and Stanford. So some great soccer. Notre Dame's in the top 10. Stanford's number 1. Cal is no slouch, and Indiana is ranked number 13th in the country. So if you're a soccer fan, or you're just getting into the sport, I know it's kind of the young hip sport here in the U.S. Definitely come check it out, because it's going to be a great weekend. But first, it's this weekend and New Mexico and UC Irvine. So check out my stuff for the IDS. Got to get that quick plug right there.
Of course, you got to throw it in there. So some great soccer being played in Bloomington. This could end up being one of Indiana's best teams in sports in 2016, 2017 throughout the school year. So definitely check that out. And then Cardinal versus Crimson that Sunday. I'll be there. I'm sure most of Bloomington, most of IU is going to be there. It's going to be crazy. I can't wait. So if you're there, try and flag down Josh before or after the game. Try and flag down me. We'll talk to you guys, and we'll talk some anything you guys want to talk about. So there's our what to watch for. And now to the weekly top 5. We're going to obviously keep this Bloomington related. And we're going to talk about our top 5 things that we're looking forward to. We briefly touched on it earlier, but we're going to get a little bit more in depth. So, Josh, I'll start us off again here. We've already talked about it. Number 5 on my list is the football season. Like I said, people are excited. The team, there's expectations. I think they're going to be good. They could definitely get 6 wins at least. So, and Memorial Stadium is going to be packed come October 1st against Michigan State to start the Big Ten off right. So football season is my number 5. I'm very, very excited.
No doubt. I mean, this was kind of a tough power rankings to actually rank. It's kind of like 1A, B, C, D, and E, because they're all great things that I want to do this year. I'm excited for. But my first one is just finding something new in/around Bloomington. I know there's stuff outside the city limits of Bloomington that's pretty cool, but I want to find something new to do. We were talking about go to Lake Monroe, go find a quarry, or just try something new in and around this beautiful town. So that is my number 5.
You stole that from later on in my list, so we'll see when that comes up for me. Number 4 for me is a Little 5. I enjoyed it last year. I had some fun, but I didn't get as much exposure to it as I would have liked, just because still a freshman, still learning the ropes, and I was living the complete opposite side of campus, so it was kind of a trek to get there. I still experienced it. It was still a lot of fun, but this year I'm hoping to get a little bit more involved, see anything that I can do there, and if nothing work-related or something, experience both races and see what I can do with that. So Little 500, number 4 on my list.
That one's also coming up in my list, because that's just such a big thing here at IU. But my number 4 is eating at the restaurants here in Bloomington. I mean, I got Butch's a couple blocks away. I ate at Little Zagreb's with my parents when they were here. And I had Trojan Horse. I haven't even been to Village Deli. I've been to Nick's once. I haven't even been to Buffalo's. I gotta go out and eat at all these restaurants that I've missed for the year. So that is my number 4 because the food around here is fantastic.
Nick's is a place that I last went last September, and I kept telling myself, come second semester, oh, I got to get back to Nick's. I got to get back to Nick's, and I never did. And you just rejiggered that in my head. So this is now going to drive me crazy. I might hop in the car and go over there when we're done with this before I get this podcast up on iTunes. So I'll let you know what happens there. Number 3 for me, you just said it, is exploring Bloomington and kind of going off the IU beaten path, if you will, and seeing Lake Monroe, seeing the quarry, everything that Bloomington's got to offer through the forest, and even out to Nashville, which a couple of my friends did last year, said it was an absolute blast. So, we'll see what happens with all that, but I'm very excited. I can't wait. And, as I kind of get into my routine a little bit, I'd love to see Bloomington, and we'll definitely be tweeting out pictures whenever we go out, and definitely tell us where to go because we're not sure. So, exploring Bloomington is my number 3. Strong contention for number 2, but right now it's number 3.
My number 3, you just had it a couple minutes ago, is Little Five. I mean, last year I was a new member in a fraternity, so it was a little bit tougher for me to get out and explore a little bit. But now we'll be full. I'm free to do what I want. So we're gonna go live it up a little bit. Actually, I made it to the end of the race last year. I'd like to make it to the beginning. I hear it's a huge spectacle, really, really cool. So I'm really excited to fully experience Little Five for this upcoming year.
It should be great, and what's not to love? It's legendary. People back home are saying, "How was Little Five? Was it the hype? Was it awesome?" Like, you know what? Yes, it was. You got to come down for a weekend. So hopefully, I can host a friend or two. For this Little Five. Number 2 for me, it's got to go without saying. This has got to be up there. Basketball season, getting back into Assembly Hall with the new Cuban Center, which we haven't seen inside yet, but from the outside, it's looking great. So, we'll definitely tweet out some pictures if we can get access to that. So stay tuned for that. But I just can't wait to get back into Assembly Hall to watch some basketball. I didn't go in with a whole lot of expectations last year just because, frankly, I didn't really know what to expect as a freshman. I'd only been to Assembly Hall one time. I didn't know what it would be like as a student, especially as an 18, 19-year-old kid. I was there as a teenager. But this year, I'm as excited as can possibly be, and it's only August. So I can't wait to get back there. It's going to be unbelievable.
Oh, it is going to be fantastic. That's later on in my power rankings. But number 2 for me is I am really excited to broadcast football games this year for WIUX. It's going to be a blast. I'm doing Ball State, Michigan State, at Northwestern, and Purdue. So those are 4 solid games. And I am stoked to do them. I'm doing with 2 others. I'm doing play-by-play for Michigan State, and I'll do some color for some other games. But I'm absolutely stoked to get up there and broadcast the football games. It's going to be a great season. We talked about earlier, and it's just building anticipation here.
And priority 1A should be getting to Memorial Stadium to watch the Hoosiers. If you can't, priority 1B will be tuning into 99.1 to listen to Josh Collins for all the games that he is. So if you can't meet either of those, you better have a good excuse. But Josh, I think I may be working that Northwestern game up in Evanston too, so we'll be in the booth together. It'll be good to maybe send out some pictures there on Twitter for everybody to follow us there. But my number 1, we couldn't stop raving about it. I had to cut us short. It is Franklin Hall and the Media School, and it feels great to obviously you got school-wise you got to get the gen eds out of the way. But I'm very excited to get actually into the media and the journalism aspect of what I'm studying, and that's both of our majors. And it's going to be great to take some classes in that beautiful, beautiful building for not just one semester, not just 2, but 3 full years of just being in that beautiful building and being able to take advantage of everything that it has to offer. And I don't even know if 3 years is enough time to take advantage of everything that the media school has to offer, but just getting involved. And this is kind of the kickoff for the media school, the unofficial kickoff for the media school. It's going to be a blast, and I can't wait for these next 3 years.
Absolutely. I mean, I wasn't even thinking about that when I made this list, but my number 1 is just getting back into Assembly Hall. I mean, it is that place for the Purdue game or for the Iowa game. Those 2 just stick out to me. That place was absolutely incredible. Great atmosphere. I've never been in a better sports atmosphere, I think, than in those 2 games. I'll never forget going in for the first time for Hoosier Hysteria. Walking through the tunnel and you just see all the banners and you see all the people, and it's just a great place, obviously, for a basketball game. I'm just really excited to get back there, see how they did those renovations, because when you make renovations like for Wrigley Field, people didn't want them to mess with that history of that fantastic building. And I feel like it's a little bit of the same for Assembly also. I'm interested to see how they're kind of fixing that up, and how the final how it's going to look when it's done. So I'm excited to get in for that and see what they did there.
It should be great, and Hoosier Hysteria can't come quick enough. I can't wait to, just to see what it looks like with all those renovations and whatnot. So it's going to be a blast. So that does it for us for our first Bloomington episode. We're back, feels great, and I got to get out and get back to Nick's and see what I can do there. But Josh, do you have any final words to say to any students or alums or anybody that's got anything to say?
I mean, just this is going to be a fun school year. It's going to be a fun year for the athletics. There's a lot of good teams this year. You got men's soccer going for their 9th title. You got men's basketball going for their 6th banner. You got football trying to get back to a bowl game. The baseball team trying to get back to the NCAA tournament. A lot going on in Bloomington, and the women's basketball team trying to make it back to the NCAA tournament. Can't forget them as well. So, fun year ahead, and this is just the beginning.
It's just the very beginning. We've barely scratched the surface. So that'll do it for us today. I've said it about 50 times, but continue to tweet at us. We love hearing from you guys. We love interacting with you guys. I know a lot of people say that, but we mean it. We do mean it. Keep tweeting at us. Keep following us. And let us know where to hit in Bloomington. Tell us your favorite spots, and we'll go and we'll let you know how it went. We could talk to you about it. That'll establish a great connection, and hopefully we can have some of you guys on and read some of your tweets and stuff like that. So we're definitely going to get this running really quickly, and we're going to have a ton of fun with it. And Josh, I know you're excited. I'm excited too. So thanks for tuning in. If you watched us live, we appreciate it. If you're listening to it on iTunes, make sure you subscribe and keep listening each week. And we'll be back next week. Thank you for tuning in.